Hey guys, we're going to play with doing some doodle patterns. 30 of them. Really quick, really easy. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Deliberately Creative. I'm Stephanie and I'm here with 30 doodle patterns for filling squares so that we can do all kinds of doodling. And sometimes, we can't think of a detail, a design, a simple element to fill in a space. So I have made a grid of squares. This is available on my website, and this is a smaller version of it. It's the Doodle Pattern Sampler page. It comes with a little card of idea starters. You don't have to follow these and fill them in the squares. That would be, not as fun. Come up with your own designs, but this gets you started on how to fill the squares up. On this one right here, I reduced the size of my page. So this is 75% smaller and my squares are about 1 inch. At the regular size, and I just trimmed it off so I didn't have a bunch of extra paper around it. At the regular size, this is 1 1/4 inch squares. It doesn't matter. On my book, I just drew squares and filled them in. So, you can do it any way you want. But this is definitely for beginners or people who just want to jumpstart their creativity a little bit. Awesomeness squared. Ooh, I like that. So I have some various tools here. If you don't have a pen, grab a pencil, doodle, but I would suggest that you start at the farthest away. If you're right-handed, start on the left corner. If you're left-handed, start on the right corner. Work your way across the paper one way or the other, because once you put pencil down, you'll smudge with your hand. You can use a mechanical pencil, a standard yellow pencil, whatever you have, or you can use pens. I have a Zen-Sations technical drawing pen. I've got a Micron 03. And I have some of those eco pens. These are the ones with the cardboard tubes. I love them for drawing. All of these doodles on here were done with the eco pen. They do run out fairly quickly. I have run through 2 of them. I'm thinking I want to maybe save, pull these apart, and they've got these really cool heads on them. Look at that. Really, really cool. I'm trying to think of maybe making a snowflake or some type of an ornament so that the only thing that's getting tossed is the little plastic tube and not that pretty hard plastic shiny head. I don't know. Things that my brain thinks about. But this pen is about halfway gone. And see, that's what it looks like when it's full. It's a nice juicy ink. So I'm probably going to be using that one for doing my doodles today. Let's get started. First up, really quick, the easiest doodle is just to draw straight lines and fill in your box. So I'm just going to draw straight lines. And the more you draw your straight lines, the more consistent. Let's go ahead and zoom in. The more consistent your spacing gets, but they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfectly straight. These lines, your hand has a little bit of a wobble in it. That's fine. The way your hand wobbles is consistent. Now I am drawing just straight with my wrist instead of my whole arm. You can draw with your whole arm, but when I'm doing something small, I have more control, I think. I'm mostly drawing from the elbow. But after hours of doodling, you do need to stretch your hands. We're almost done with the first doodle. Okay, so the next one, next box over, you could go ahead and just do them all sideways, the other direction. We'll do something that's similar to that in just a moment. But what I want to do is another doodle. Let's see if we do the side view. What are we going to, ooh. The next one, you can start from the top and go down, or the bottom and go up. Either way, I'm going to go like this. Line, dot, dot, line, dot, dot, line. And then I'm going to dot, dot, and then line, dot, dot. And I am going to just build this up, alternating my dot line starting or the line starting. Dot, dot. See how nice and juicy this pen is? This is a nice open fill. Gives you the opportunity to do all kinds of different things. And you can fill these in to other shapes. They don't have to be just squares. And you notice my pattern went off a little? No biggie. Nobody's going to notice. That's the really cool thing here about doodling. Look at that. Is that nobody's going to notice if your lines are a little wobbly. They just figured that's how you meant to draw it. I'm going to move on to my next line type of pattern. And this one is going to be diagonal. And we're going to go across the page. I'm going to make 2 lines that are next to each other, give a space. 2 lines that are next to each other, give a space. Again, you can fill this in to any shape. So 2 parallel lines, leaving a space, and the spacing is not perfect. If you are somebody who absolutely has to have perfect spacing, grab yourself a shorter ruler than this. This is a 15-inch ruler. It doesn't work really well when you're doing small things, but you can get a little 6-inch ruler and use it for drawing your lines if you are someone who is just, it's got to be straight and it's got to be the right distance apart. So now we've got those spaces, and I am going to put, following the diagonal, I am going to put little squares inside. Just because I want to. And so that you can see simple things repeated become a pattern. That's all a pattern is a line or shape repeated more than 2 or 3 times. If it's repeated about 3 times, it becomes a pattern. But when you're doing flowers, a flower itself can be a pattern because each leaf or each petal gets repeated. So look at this. We're almost done with our 3rd pattern. Now you can go in and do even more detail. This looks like film strips. Look at that. It becomes more complex the more simple designs you add into it. So if I wanted to really make this complex, I could go and put dots in those narrow lines. I'm not worried about making them lined up perfectly, but that makes it look even more like film strips, doesn't it? I know a lot of young people don't know. Now I sound like one of those old folks. Oh my gosh. But film strips, when I was in school, film strips, they would have little 1-minute videos explaining a concept or something that would be on a film strip. It would be like slides on a plastic strip that it would just crank right through and show you the motion of the sun around, or the earth around the sun. Those kinds of things. Easy peasy. So, oh, you can write hidden messages with Morse code. Absolutely. I don't know Morse code, but you can certainly do that. Another way of doing something similar, just make your lines like the first one, but spread them out. give a little bit of space because we're going to go in. And now this is freehand. I'm not measuring anything. So go right across. We're almost done with our first 5 patterns. I am going to now go the opposite direction. And I'm kind of heading towards the previous lines, crossing in a nice diagonal. So then you end up with these lovely little diamonds. And then you can go in. I'm not going to color each one of them in, but you can go in and give yourself windows in some of them. Just follow the shape. You don't have to land perfectly. But look, we're getting more shapes. Now, some of these are different than the ones that were on the sample for the pattern page. And that's because I have a hard time when I come up with a new idea or a thought, I want to try it. And I don't want to be stuck thinking, oh, I have to do just what I showed on that one page. You don't have to. You can change it up. Share your patterns with me. Share on Deliberately Creative page on Facebook. You can share by tagging at Deliberately Creative on your Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, any of those. Random. Look at that. Easy, easy patterns. You can do even more beginner patterns. We're going to make a grid this time, so all we're doing is spreading our lines out even farther. It's not an even grid, doesn't have to be. And then I'm going to make a little rice type shape, little arch, basically a parentheses, going down, just like that. Then we're going to rotate, because it's always easier for my hand to work going down. Look at that. First flower pattern. There's lots of flower patterns to do. Your mind will just start popping patterns out at you. You'll start noticing patterns around you. The way leaves grow on a plant is a beautiful pattern. If you guys are interested in doing more, I'm going to use these outlines of the box to do a single bump. If you're interested in doing more patterns, I have fun ideas and videos all planned for the next couple weeks. Wednesday, we're going to take a lot of these patterns and use them to make really pretty seed pods. Now you could go in and make it even more detailed by coloring in a square. Follow the lines, make it a little arched window in the middle. Not anything to worry about, not anything to stress over. I'm sitting kind of far away from it, so I'm not even down on top of it looking really close. But you see how I automatically put them in a pattern. But you could color in every single square if you wanted to. It would make it feel a little bit more darker, pulled together. But look at that. We're done with our first 5 patterns, and we are not very far in, are we? All right. So now I want to do another pattern, and this one I'm going to take another grid. Lots of patterns are built on grids. So I'm going to build this grid pattern. I'm going to just make a tic-tac-toe board. And we're going to change the angle again. There we go. So tic-tac-toe board. And I'm going, those rice type shapes that we did over here, I'm going to go like this and put in the big squares from diagonal corner to corner. It's basically expanding that pattern, making a new flower. So this is kind of the seed of life type pattern, I guess. It's a basic, like a quilt pattern, actually. There we go. So then you can use your pen and do either insides. Well, if you do insides, you can choose to color inside of one set, or you can do every other set. So I'm going to go like this, and I know that didn't really make much sense when I said that. But I'm going to go like this. But I'm not going to do it on every flower grouping. But we're just using that fill pattern, that one right there, that skinny line. And if you don't make your lines the spacing you want, you can go back and fill in. Nothing says that you have to hit it perfect on the first go across. So we'll come back to this view. So you see how this is filling in? Now I'm going to skip this one and go up and fill in this way. Now, something I could have done and probably should have done was go across, but one way or the other, you're going to end up with a random line through the middle, and you can go the opposite direction and fill it with tiny little squares. Then that line that we had for our grid that gave us the pattern to begin with disappears because you filled it with a lot more lines. If you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button and make sure and turn on notifications so that you will be notified when I go posting more videos. I want to do that for all of these. But you see how much more detailed things look when you just add another set of lines to it? Daniel, I'm Stephanie from Deliberately Creative, and I am happy to have you here if you're happy to learn fun designs and patterns. So there we go. Make it even more detailed if you want to by putting those cross lines in. I'm going to go ahead and really quick draw these in. Beginner patterns don't have to look like a beginner pattern. A lot of what makes things look beginners is when you are really, really tentative. Just put the pen down on the paper and draw your line. Don't worry. Don't stress. Just have fun. So there we go. If you are interested in materials and things like that that I like to use, I have them listed down below in the more information box. But remember, beginner patterns, you don't have to have a whole bunch of tools. Okay, so it looks like I went ahead and filled it in. I'm going to fill in this one too. I wasn't paying attention. You know, and that's the thing. If you are wanting to be working on your mindfulness, this is something that's really good for that, especially if you're not talking while you're doing it. So I ended up filling in those other boxes that I wasn't intending to fill. No biggie. Just fill them all in. or I could have left that one open. Now, something that you'll see here, let's go ahead and do the close-up. Something that you see here is that my lines sometimes come on the inside when I do these extra details, and maybe I don't want that. Now, a sign of somebody who's moving on a little bit in their experience is they might go in and put a second line on the inside of their pattern. And you see how that makes those extra little bumps that you put in kind of disappear? And it just makes that have a little bit more detail. I love it. I love doing things like that. I'm not going to show shading in this one. So if you are interested in shading, please leave me a comment and let me know if you want to learn how to shade your patterns. But I am going to do a little line coming in the center. Oh my gosh, this is getting so detailed, isn't it? See, look. It looks really detailed. It actually looks like little flowers or butterflies on top of a screen or a net. All right, we're going to do another one. We're going to be doing, again, straight lines. We're not doing a lot of curved lines yet. Straight lines. And I want to put hearts on this line. It makes it really nice to have that line to balance my little hearts. Now look, I'm going off the bottom right there. And I'm going to put just a point up here. It's going to look like strings of hearts. So maybe I want this heart to start up higher. Videos on shading. All right. We can do that. Shading gives things a lovely three-dimensional quality. It does tend to be something that is a little bit more advanced, but it's not hard. It's just something to experiment with. All right. So now I have these strings of hearts. What do I want to do? Ooh, put a bumpy line around them. I think that's what we're going to do. So, bumpy line, you go around and down. You're just following the shape, but not drawing on the line. So, some people call this an aura or an echo. I have been doing doodling for all of my art life. I did get really into Zen-Tangle several years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. Pretty much right when Zen-Tangle started becoming a thing. All Zen-Tangle is a way of describing patterns and how to put them down. And many people have come up with different patterns and ways of describing them. So you can't copyright a pattern. You can copyright the way you put the pattern down. So now I'm just doing another line of bumps around these. And you see how as you go out farther and farther away, they become less specific in their shape. They become more loose. And I like doing that. That's a fun thing to do. Then you could go in and you can, I'm going to do one more on the outside here, but not on the middle. All right. So then you can go in and maybe on each of those bumps, put a dot. You're adding complexity to the pattern without adding any hard things. You're just putting a dot, and it doesn't have to be perfectly spaced. And it doesn't even have to be in the same. Oh, that's fun. Now, maybe I don't want my heart to end up with that line going down the middle. And look what I'm doing here. I am not shading, I'm coloring in. Let's see if we can get that in at a better angle. Ooh. So when I'm coloring in these hearts, I decided that the right top bump, I'm not going to color in. So the right top bump isn't getting colored in. And that's, let's see. And I'm still using the same pen to do all of it. Easy beginner. Let's go ahead and just do the close-up view again. Makes things look more detailed. Repeat the same action. Whatever you do in the first one, or if you make a line that goes in a weird place, just make a line that goes in a weird place for all of your shapes, and it looks like it's part of your pattern. Just like all of my other things. Yours looks like wallpaper? Yeah! Put dots between the hearts if you don't have room for the little bumps. Awesome. All right, now I want to do one where we're going to do a swirled line. It's going to look kind of like an iron gate. Maybe like those New Orleans balconies. So I want to thicken up this line. So I'm going to put a second line next to each one of these. You could draw it parallel lines. I just realized that I didn't draw it thick enough. So I want to start on my line and do a swirl. And then go to the other side of it and do the swirl the other direction. Ooh. And I'm going to work my way across. They don't have to be perfectly sized, perfectly spaced. If one gets bigger, it's not a problem. Let your hand do what your hand does. Many people find this to be a tricky shape to do. So that's one of the reasons for doing this type of a pattern, is that you can practice. And that's what the sheet like this is for. This is for practice. You're going to end up with something that looks like a cool quilt of 30 patterns. Or you can just repeat the same 2 patterns in all of the boxes. Up to you. And what I want to do, so it looks pretty this way, doesn't it? But I think I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to say that the outsides of these boxes are some of these lines, and I'm going to move down or up, either way, and make another set. Except, oh my, I wanted that to go the other direction. I wanted that. So what did I do? I made it go exactly the same direction. I wanted these to go up and stretch across. So I'm putting fewer in. That's okay. You learn. Things change. but this is the pattern I was looking for. So if you get lines in, thank you. Yes, please remember, click that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Now you look at this. I'm taking just a plain white. This is a pigment pen by the Uniball Signo Uniball UM153 white pen. It's the same white as my paper, pretty much. Now it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to completely wipe out that line. But this is a practice sheet, and I wanted to show you how you can get rid of something if you don't like what happens. So look at that. You can correct things. This is not the pattern you were looking for. Absolutely. These are not the droids you were looking for. And you can draw right over the top of it. Make sure your pen is dry before you draw over the top of it. And it will take the ink a little bit longer to dry off on top of that ink. So I can go in and say, I think we're going to put, I love dots. I love dots. So at the join, where these guys are joined to their rod, I'm going to put a dot. Little things, little things like this, just make it have a bit more presence. So did you guys like seeing how to fix it? We're on to the next thing. But look, this is just like that ironwork on an iron gate. I want to show you how you can take one pattern. So we're going to make an X. And then we're going to divide that into quarters. Okay? Then we're going to make an X. And at any point, you can say, I've done enough in a certain square, and not make any more detail in that. So now I've got this square in here that's turned on a diamond. I'm going to make an X inside of these. And then I'm going to move in and make an X inside of that. Look, you're getting stacked inside of boxes, and if you color these in, you will end up with more and more complex designs as it goes deeper and deeper. You can color it so it looks like it's going all the way down in. This is just a quilt pattern. This is just another kind of quilt pattern. I think this is my last round. But you see, you don't have to fuss about it. It's not a hard pattern. I made an X. I made an X again. I made an X again. You just keep working your way in. The squares on this piece of paper are like 1.25 inches because that's the most squares I could get across my piece of paper and have it give me a border around the outside for printing out. But you can do this on any size square. Remember, this is like quilt squares. Any type of square. So this is a lovely little pattern. You can go in and detail it. We're not going to. We're going to move on to pattern number 10. And pattern number 10, going to be so easy. We're going to make little circles. And we're just going to do our circles and make them into kind of a little grid. Now this is like dice or like dominoes. You could make this into like two dominoes side by side by putting a line. You could cut this into a grid if you wanted to. Or you can connect those dots and make them into another shape. And by skipping, I'm not doing all of them, you can have squares going around, and inside of those squares, you could go and do another pattern. I'm going to pretend that this one is going off, and that one's going off. Pattern 10 done. Let's get on to number 11. Number 11 is going to be another one of those sort of wallpaper patterns. I'm going to put my lines kind of close together. It could be wallpaper, it could be strings of beads. We're going to go and put one of those rice shapes, a circle, and a rice shape. We're going to leave a space, do the rice shape again, a circle, and the rice shape. Now, what does that look like? That looks like it could be flowers with leaves. I am going to put a circle up here and one of those rice shapes. Leave a little space, do the little rice shape, another circle. See, my shapes are not the same size. They are not the same spacing all the time. I'm kind of working it off in a pattern. So now I'm going to do that rice shape, leave a space, do another one, put a circle. See how it's sort of just going up? Now, this could also be like faceted beads on a string, like those 1970s bead curtains that had the clear plastic beads with the little cut lines on them. And I'm going to say that this one is just starting with that little rice shape, the circle, the rice shape, leave a space, the rice shape, a circle, the rice shape, or leaf shape if that's how your brain thinks about it. I think I want this to be like the beaded curtain. So I'm going to go in and put a little curved line. Let's see. Sometimes this gives you a better view. See how I'm kind of curving that line around that horizontal line in the middle? Maybe my shape isn't quite fat enough. So I can add another line on the outside. Remember, this is your doodle and your pattern and your design. And you can make it the way you want it. Nobody can tell you that your doodles are not right. I love that about doodles. I love that about making my own pattern. See, so I want those to be a little bit chubbier. And I did it every other line. Maybe what I'll do is on the other line, the one that I'm not doing the big bead, I'll fill in the little one. Ah, look at that. String of beads. There we go. So next, wow, I think I want to expand those beads. I'm going to do them on a diagonal though. And I'm going to make a big circle, another big circle. Maybe I'll put that little circle there. Another big circle, little circle, big circle. This is a pattern but it can be a random pattern. There we go. All right, so now I still have that string line running through the middle, don't I? But if I go like this and kind of follow the shape of the outside, round to the middle, round. We're finishing up pattern number 12 already. Look at that. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to have the same amount of lines in them. Maybe the bead is twisted. Maybe it's catching the light a different way. Maybe I want these little guys to be more solid. And then, oh gee, I think I wanted to have a highlight. Well, if you don't have a white pen, the easiest way to make a highlight is to draw your line a little bit wider around. And now you can get a highlight. Look at that. You weren't thinking about the highlight to begin with, but now you can put your highlight in. It's also a nice way to be able to round up your shape if you want to. You can add more lines in if you want to. You can make it as detailed as you want to, because you are the one that's in control. There's so many things we don't have control over in our lives right now, but the doodle is your place to relax, your place to just put on some soft music or loud music, whatever makes you happy. There. Fun. It's this pattern, but just blown up, isn't it? It's like the little balls were blown up like balloons. Maybe we just want to do random circles. This could end up being like stones laying on the beach, riverside stones, a stone wall. You just start putting in the big rocks. Oh, so if you've ever heard it was going around a lot a couple years ago, the story of how to figure out what to do in your life and how you can see it in a physical way by putting the big rocks, the things that really matter to you, first. And then finding the things that make life a little bit more fun and fill in with those. And those start filling in the spaces between things. Between those big things, your family, paying your bills, your house, the things that are necessary for life. Then the next level of things, maybe the pack of cookies, the gym membership. That's not necessary for life, but it makes your life better. Okay, I put a pack of cookies and a gym membership in the same level. So now, then you can start putting in those smaller things. Maybe it was the smell of the flower, but I think smell of the flower is something that's important for my life. But you start filling in smaller and smaller details, and you get to the point where you filled in your jar or whatever you're filling in, and you think that there's no room for anything else. And then you can take that glass of wine or that can of beer or that juice that just makes your heart sing, and you can pour that over the top of everything, and it will fill in all of the extra space. But if you put all that liquidy stuff, all the tiny little things in place first, your life feels out of control, because you have to put those big rocks in there at some point and things will overflow. They never show you that side of it. They always show it putting the big rocks in, but they don't show filling it up with all the small stuff and then trying to drop the big rocks in. If you fill a jar with sand, you can't put a big rock into that jar. It will fall out. But if you put the big rocks in first, you can fill the jar with sand. You can fill it with pebbles. You can fill it with sand. You can fill it... I think that's how I've lived my life all along. Just sort of naturally. I put the big things in. I work on the next thing. I work on putting the next thing in. And then you've got a full life. So look at that. This is completely filled in. Maybe I will go in this and do those same straight lines we did there. But I'm going to put them in kind of a curve. And see how it's making your rock feel like it's curved? It's all an illusion. There we go. I'm not going to shade the little ones, but I am going to put all of these big ones right like this. Pattern 13, done. So, oh, I never did our absolute most basic pattern. Well, after the straight lines. Oh, I can throw that on there too. So, make yourself a kind of smallish grid. We're going to do a checkerboard because, you know, the checkerboard is awesome because you can do it in many different ways. So first up, standard checkerboard. Just a regular grid. It's not a perfect. Now I am not going to color these in tight. I'm going to use my little lines to color in my dark. This gives me more practice on drawing my lines, starting and stopping at a certain point. But I've got something at the end. It's not just drawing lines across the page, although that is an awesome way to practice. There we go. And then move over. Draw your lines. Now my lines are not always consistent. I'm moving really quite quickly so that I can show you as many different patterns as I can think of. Well, or fill up 30 patterns. But there we go. And if you came in late, we have already done 13 patterns. And they're all done in real time. So you can just roll this video back and watch it. Use this as a reference. I want to know from you guys, do you want me to compile all of these little videos as little speed videos too? Let me know. Now, I want to do a wobbly grid. And I am not going to make my lines consistent. See? Not consistent lines. Let your hand wander, let your hand wobble. Looks like a puzzle, doesn't it? There we go. So now I'm going to do this a different way. I'm not going to color them in completely. I'm going to go every other one and put that little outline inside. Makes it like a little frame. You could go and put another shape in if you wanted to. You can fill in your shapes. One of the cool things, there's some advanced designs that you can do to fill in shapes. So there we go. I think I want to put another row of it in. I'm just following the shape that's there. I'm not having to think about what that shape is. It just happened. There we go. And maybe I want to put a tiny filled in square or filled in shape bit. Look at this. We have 15. We're halfway done. I know this is a little bit long, so please let me know if you would rather just have it go speedy through. It's kind of like it was underwater. The bottom of a pool. That's what that reminds me of. The bottom of a swimming pool. All right. So now, I want to do something. We haven't done that many things with triangles yet, or with arches. I think we're going to do triangle pattern first. Geometric pattern. There we go. Geometric pattern. So, but this one, it looks like modern art. We're going to put down a rectangle. Let's go sideways on this one. We're closer to the edge here. Put down a rectangle, put down a triangle, and put down a circle. Now, you have options. You can take and draw so that your designs overlap and look like they're coming from underneath. Or you can connect your design and make it look see-through. I'm making some see-through designs here, aren't I? I'm just overlapping some designs. And then you can go in and color. I love coloring in things. Where these are overlapping, you can choose. Do I want to color in the whole thing? Maybe this one, the box itself is getting colored in. Look at that. Very much like modern art. Maybe this one's going to be lines filling it in. But you can go crazy with this type of a pattern. And have a lot of fun. I don't know, that might be a triangle or it might be a square. I don't know. Color that in. Maybe this one over here that's going off the edge is getting colored in. You can get this as detailed or as simple as you want. Where do I find watercolor flower doodles? I have a video that I did last week on doing intuitive flower doodling. So you can certainly check that video. I'm going to be doing a lot of actual flower doodles. Next week, I'm going to show you how to do this little girl. We're also going to be doing these chickens on Friday this week using patterns that we're doing right now, because we're getting ready to start doing some of these leaf type patterns. So there you go. Let's see. Yeah, I am a doodler. Whoops, wrong side of the book. I am a doodler. So the flower doodles that Joan did, these I shared on my Instagram and on my Facebook. So if you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook, I share my work there first. This is what we're doing on Wednesday, is these seed pods, kind of like ornaments, using these same patterns that we're learning today. And the idea of how to do these patterns. So I hope that that is helpful to you. Let me know if you guys are interested in seeing lots more doodling. I am so excited about doing doodling. You like it the way I'm doing it with no speed. All right. Well, if you want speedy type videos or individual patterns, I'm going to be doing a bunch of these as Tangi videos, real-time, 1-minute videos over on Tangi. And so if you're not following me on Tangi, and that is a really cool site that is for DIY, it's short form DIY art type videos. Right there. Oh, the chickens are going to get colored. Absolutely. Have I done any of these with colored pens? I tend to really like black and white. You can certainly do with colored pens, and I do have fine liner colored pens that I can play with. I've got a whole ton of the Sarasa by Zebra pen. So, there we go. Yeah, you can do all kinds of doodles with the watercolor and with colored pens. With my watercolor pens also, I can do. I am going to do a leaf shape or feather type shape, like the feathers on the chest of a chicken. Or it could also be a stacked up flower petal shape. It's basically a U or an arch. And I'm stacking them on kind of like bricks. This works really well for mermaid scales. If anybody's doing mermaid, I'm sure you already know this type of a pattern for mermaid scales. And this is another one of those basic shapes. Super beginner pattern. Absolutely fantastic, because then we could do it. You can leave it plain. You don't have to do anything else to it. So I'll put another one on here really quick. Doing it again. And you get so fast. You don't even have to think about it. And if you end up adding an extra scale in, sometimes fish have more scales. Sometimes flowers have more petals. So don't worry about it. See how we can just put that in, boom, bitty, boom. So we have that same pattern again. This could also be stacked up pennies, coins laying out. First thing that you can do is you can go and do the arch again. So we're just echoing, auraing, outlining, interlining. So look at that. It could be, yeah, this really reminds me of petals right now. It could be a whole stack of arches. You can make these look very three-dimensional or very flat. All up to you. I like doing basic beginner patterns and showing how they can get more and more detailed as you're going. I will be doing the fish and the landscape as tutorials. Those will be coming up in a couple weeks. I'm going to be doing the fish because I want to do them for Father's Day, for people getting ready for Father's Day cards, or you've got a friend that likes to go fishing. So I have a fishing lures, and I have a and I have the little fish. Let's see, where's the little fishies? All right, so this is what Gina was asking about. I've got these little fishies. I have this landscape. Yeah, see, I doodle just for fun. If you want to see doing these type of little odd shapes and making your own little painted rocks, you can do these on rocks too. You can do the designs on rocks. So much fun. Let's see. I'm flipping back through my pages here for just a second. And come on, where'd it go? I have some fishing lures too that just make me really happy. But all right, you know what? I'm not finding the fishing lures right now. Maybe they were in a different book. All right, but we also have little birds, and I did a red panda. Okay, this is the same little girl face that I'm going to be teaching next week, but I put hair on her. And then we have more flower patterns. So, you know, we're not limited in any way by what we have available. Piece of paper and pen. Okay, so now I want to put a little line going up and a dot from the corner. So you see there's kind of a little corner right here. I'm just going to do just like that because I wanted a little bit more something in here. Looks like little flowers growing in little windows. This makes a really fun stained glass style pattern too. If you do the arch in a solid and then do the your little inside petal with different colors, so pretty. All right, let's move on. We're going to move on to another one, and this is going to be another of that type of pattern, but I'm of the arch, but I'm going to do it not on the diagonal. I want you to see you can do it on a straight line. I don't care if I overlap my lines, no big deal. And so I'm just going to quickly put this in. See on the edge, I'm doing half ones. I'm not worried if I'm going up or down, making them not perfect the height. Things in nature are rarely perfect. So this one's a half. I'm going to come in right here and jump over. And then I've got another half. Lizard scales, snake skin, all things that this could be. So now I'm going to make another arch, but I'm going to make it a fatter arch. This is it looks way more detailed because what it looks like is you've got an extra layer of petals put in, but it's stacked up with that previous layer. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look how detailed that looks so quickly. I love it. All right. And now I'm going to go in and color in this row. I just picked a row. I'm not coloring it in solid. I'm using those lines again. I like to use lines to fill so my pieces don't get so oversaturated with dark. Oh, Easter eggs, absolutely. Easter eggs, Halloween, tombstones, so many things this could be. You could go in and do all kinds of little patterns and doodles on these. Let's see. So I think on the inside of that colored in space with the little lines, I am going to put a couple more little lines following the shape of the arch. I don't have a plan on this one, guys. I'm kind of figuring it out as I'm going along. Maybe, ooh, look at that. You can start seeing patterns that you wouldn't think were there and make bigger, bolder looking designs. And I know right where that bigger, bolder came from. I have been watching Gemma Stafford and her bigger, bolder baking. I have been binge watching again. I go through periods of time where I love watching cooking channels. I'm just outlining, I guess is what I'm doing, but I'm outlining a bigger shape, and it makes I just want to start doodling, just getting in and just doodling. But when you outline a shape like this, you start seeing things. Okay, so right here, I'm seeing like French tips on fingernails. Silly things, silly things. Maybe I'm going to do that arch. You don't have to do the same thing in every row. You can change it up, and it gives it variety. Look at that. You could color these just like feathers, but I think I'm going to do one that is feathers so that you can see. I think I want that triangle right there to be colored in. See? It's just a pattern that you can do different things with. You're not limited. You would love a dragon. Ah, dragons are, yeah, one of my favorite things. I love dragons. Ooh. Okay. I forgot to include this pattern. You want to see that one? It's a grid. Just a grid. And yep, my pen hit the paper right here and kind of made a mark. It's going to disappear. Whoops. Get back on the screen. So this one, super easy. You do your up and down lines. Actually, oh yeah, they are. They can just be up and down. And then ooh, okay. So we'll do it this way. We're going to do a checkerboard, and then we'll do the more detailed one. So we're going up and down every other one. Nice thing about doing a tic-tac-toe type size is that you get enough to practice the design, but it's not so much that you get so sick and tired and bored of it. That's one of the things with doodling. You don't have to be bored because you can change things up. You don't have to continue doing the same design. And then I'm rotating it and I'm doing 90 degrees. So first off, we just did horizontal and vertical. And this is like your standard checkerboard. It could look like a woven blanket, woven type pattern. Your standard weave like you're doing with paper strips. But then we're going to do something magical with the next one. All right. See, when I start getting, oh shoot, sorry. When I start getting too fast, my lines will hook back. I just wanted to get it done quick, so I'm sorry that I went off screen on that. But this time, we're going to go tic-tac-toe again. Lovely little 9 grid. But we're going to go and do diagonal lines. So we're diagonal lines. Fill the whole box, diagonal lines. You have to slow down a little bit when you're doing diagonal lines. They're not as intuitive. And you don't have to match up. It does make the effect a little bit stronger if you can match your lines up when you go the opposite diagonal, but you don't have to. Because sometimes you just want to get a pattern in. And most pens have a thing, if you leave the pen on the paper for too long, it will end up leaving a mark. So if you are thinking about where to put your next line, don't leave the pen sitting on the paper while you think. And sometimes my lines don't even make it all the way to the edge. But ooh, look at that. And then this one is the diagonal the other direction. There. So you end up with this sort of starburst, this bursting out pattern, and this going in pattern. It looks way more difficult than it is. This is not a difficult pattern because all you're doing is going into the one box and just drawing straight lines, either diagonal or straight up and down. So straight up and down, diagonal. Thank you guys. I'm sorry that I had gone off screen there. Sometimes we get excited about what we're doing and we forget how zoomed in we are. So now I'm going to match up that a little bit. To get it to kind of match up, I start in the middle of the box. Because the part that I really want to see is this right here. I want to see that little square show up. But if my lines don't perfectly match up, look at that. Not matching up the lines, not worried about it. I am trying to keep my hand out of your way. I am trying to keep it on the screen. And then this one, the diagonal goes the opposite direction. And if you want to emphasize that, go put that center square. And this is also really good for covering up if you don't have your lines match perfectly. And if you want to, you can even go in and just pick a square or make a square. Just like that. And maybe I'll do this one closer in. Look. It gives you a much more complex looking pattern just doing that. I hope that that is helpful. Now we're going to move over to another one. Ooh, what one? What one? I'm looking at this. Oh, something very similar. This one, we'll do it again. I like grid patterns for when you want to fill in a space, because you can do them on wonky grids. All right. But this time we are going to go and put a square in the same corner of a little square in the same corner of all of the other squares. This is going to get colored in black. So I'm just going to color it in black right now. I love this pattern. This pattern is kind of an optical illusion pattern. And if you were ever interested in figuring out how simple perspective works, this is the quickest way to learn about how simple perspective works. We're going to draw a line from this corner to that corner. Look at that. From the bottom corner of the big box to the bottom corner of the little box. Just sort of make them line up. And what have we done? We've made it so it looks almost like we've got the corner of a box of like mailboxes. So what I want to do first is put a heavier line here and here. I like this extra step. I'm just making a parallel line. First off, it makes it look like our boxes have more weight to them. I'll go ahead and do it around the bottom. The top is already there. All right. So now, this isn't real shading. This is hatching. We're using those same lines again, but we're going to start, the lines are going to be close together. And as we come out to make longer lines, they are farther apart. And what that does is it gives you the illusion that this is going in, and it has depth. See? Ah, yes, I will do feathers. I like feathers. Especially since we're going to be doing our chickens on Friday. Folk art chickens, fun, funky chickens. But we have seed pods on Wednesday. And those are going to look a lot like ornaments. They could be garden ornaments. If you're doing a card with flowers, seed pods are amazing for putting into flower arrangements. And look at that. We now have done perspective without trying. Was that worth coming for the whole class just to learn how to do that? I think it might be. I am going to do, let's see. Well, we can go ahead and do some feathers. Now feathers, these could be feathers. But what I want to do is maybe make some longer feathers. So I am going to go from the corner, not all the way across with that line. And then I am going to come down and come down. Now, the reason why I didn't go all the way with that line was because first I want to go ahead and thicken it up and then take the line across. I don't want it to be totally thick out here at the end because it gets much finer. Now we're doing those same little lines again on a diagonal, and we're going to just put the little barbs of the feathers in. Look at that. Now we can go in and we can make it have a little bit more detail here in just a second. But you want to get, for this feather, now you can do a lot more detailed feathers, okay? See how just crossing that line right there already makes it look a little more detailed? I can say my feather actually is colored right here. It's going to be a different color out here, and I'm going to give it a split in the feather. And the neat thing about it is the area down below here didn't have to have the split, but it will still look like it's all part of the feather. Now this is going to be darkened up, so I'm just adding another layer of dark lines. More lines you put in a space, the darker it gets. So maybe I'll do that, the little lines and then the longer lines. And a lot of birds have feathers that the color actually comes from the quill, that center spine of the feather. So you can make it come from all the way. Ooh, I like that. Maybe we'll do that all the way up. So this side got striped. Now, doodle feathers are not real feathers. They are not realistic, and they don't have to be realistic. If you want to draw real feathers, though, go and look up some books, just birding books, like the Audubon books or the Peterson guides. And you can get lots of feathers. And I think that one's just going to, I'm going to grow that one. Boom. Look at that. I just grew that split out farther. Doodling is allowing your brain to make connections. And sometimes those connections don't seem... See, I'm still just straight lines only. I haven't done anything fancy here. I've just been layering the lines up. As you layer the lines up, you can get pattern and shade. So I think this side, I might want to go and put I'm going to put another split in, but I'm going to do it a deep split and another deep split. And I'm going to come all the way in right here. Make that dark. Okay. Now, because we have that line there, since I was just figuring it out as I was going along, we have that line there. I'm going to put another line running alongside of it, and then I'm not going to color inside that line. I'm going to make that a white stripe on the other side of the feather. See? And keeping your lines going in a similar direction gives you the feeling of the feather. Maybe we'll have just a little bit of a line coming up in on either side to soften that, but I'm not trying to color in that white. I want that white space. So that's one kind of a feather. Another feather, you can do like leaf shapes overlapping each other. Make smaller ones like this. So just filling in the space. And then maybe we have some long feathers. These would be a lot of fun to do with like parrot type colors. And there's like the center spine on those feathers. And I may do these with only coloring or shading one side. So then they look like they're highlighted or shadowed. See how I put that one underneath? Just like that. Not hard, don't be stressing over it. This is not one of the patterns that was on the sampler to begin with, but look, it's a basic, easy pattern. You can do this pattern. Just choose a line to be one side of the feather. Not a big deal. And if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. Maybe I'm just going to do loose feather shapes. There. Just like that. And maybe I'll color in that space right there between. And maybe I'll put another feather over here. See, that's how patterns grow. You start letting your brain go, oh, well, what would happen if I did this? And where am I going if I do that? And if I do this, will it impact it in the way I'm intending? Maybe. Maybe I want to make sure that I've got my center spines showing up. So there you go. And that was done just with those simple shapes that could actually be leaf shapes. So I think, let's see. We're going to do one that looks really complex, but it's not. You're going to make a line go from side to side. And then you'll make another line. Doesn't matter. Your line can be whatever shape you want it to be, but make it 2 lines wide. Oh, I'm making up patterns. Oh yeah, I make up patterns, but I also have been here. Let's go to the face camera here. Let's go this way. All right, so I make up patterns all the time. I look at nature. I look at the microphone across from me right now, and it's got a woven pattern on it. I might go, ooh, I kind of like that. So I will look at it and go, well, maybe I can make something that looks like a woven pattern. Now, there are Zen-Tangle step out patterns. There's patterncollections.com, patterncentral.com. There's a whole bunch of different pattern dash collections. I think is a really, really good one. Tons and tons, like thousands of patterns that are all stepped out with do this, do this, do this. Do this, the next. And all of them follow a similar formula where they start with a very basic line and build on the line, just like I'm doing here with you. But when you're building your own pattern, you're just looking at something that's out there in front of you. You see a spring, like a spring on a, that's like on the inside of a pen or on the arm of a gooseneck lamp. You see a cord that's laying in a really interesting way, and you draw the lines that you build a pattern on. So you're building patterns all the time, even if you're just sitting there and scratching on a piece of paper with no intentions. Your brain is going to help you build patterns. Have you ever sat there and started drawing circles, and then those circles turned into flowers, and then those flowers might have turned into clouds, and then those clouds, you ended up with a house? Where did that come from? It came from letting your mind do its own connections in the drawing. So number 15 here. We are laying the lines deeper and deeper. So we did our first 2 lines. Now I did a second one. I'll do that again, where you draw a line. When it comes in contact with a double line, you lift up your pen, and then you set it back down on the other side of that line. I'm lifting up my pen, and I'm setting it back down on the paper after I've walked past that double line. So come up to it, lift up the pen, come up to it, lift up the pen. There. And this one you can do as detailed as you want. The more lines you put in, the more people are going to go, oh my gosh, how did they do that? That's amazing. How did you get those lines behind everything? And they don't have to be curved. They could be straight lines. They could be thin lines. They can be thick lines. Maybe I want a really thick one coming across here. So I'll put a thick one. So the first line, and now I'm putting my thick line. Ooh, it got thinner as I went down. That's kind of cool, huh? We'll do one more over here. See? Drawing my line, lift up the pen, and there. Now, the lines that are on top, you see a little bit of a thicker darkness underneath. So this line goes on top of all 4 of those little lines. I'm just going to make that darker on either side of that line. It makes it look like it's standing up on top. Let's see if I can do this. So right here, let's see, where's my zoom? There's my focus point. So right here, this line is on top. I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker. The line is on top right here. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker on either side of the line. This line is on top. And this is one of those that can be a bit fiddly, but it also has a lot of bang for the buck. It's not hard. See, we haven't done anything hard here. This is still a totally beginner pattern. But we're getting some depth here, aren't we? Maybe I'm going to say it's coming in from underneath. Right there. So these are all going to get colored right along that edge. Just thickening up that line right along the edge. This also gives you an opportunity to straighten up a line if you want to. And now, I see a couple little spots that I want. Let's see. There's a couple spots where I kind of went over my line into the top one. When I picked up, I wasn't paying really close attention. So I'm just taking my white pen again. I'm using it like a correction marker, aren't I? You don't even see it when we're done. So we are pattern doodling and we are down to the last 5 patterns. So this time, let's see. We're going to do something that's a little bit more interesting, even more interesting. How about that? I'm looking at my patterns going, ooh, what do I want to do? Oh, yes. We're going to do a 4-box grid. We're going to put a circle in the middle of each of those squares. Then we're going to make a petal shape, a long oval or seed shape, and we're going to have it go all the way out to the edge of the box and then come back. Out to the edge of the box and back to the middle. We're going to do that on all of them. We're going to get to that point. So I'm going to be really fast here. You don't have to be as fast. You can slow down and pay as much attention as you need to. This is also a really fun thing. You can do doodles while you're watching television shows, or you can be doing doodles while sitting on your front steps. And look, we just made some flowers. I'm going to make these flowers have leaves going into the corners. So look at that. Leaf into the corner. What I'm doing is I'm going out, hitting into a point. So I'm making a curve and hitting into the point. And if it doesn't line up, you can also make your line that goes out to the corner diagonally and then put a curved line around it. I kind of like doing my curve first and then giving it the line. And we'll go from the top view now. So I like going from the middle of the petal out and then just making my little leaf. Flower patterns are some of the most satisfying because we all know what a simple little flower can look like. These are like violets, I think. These little flowers. But they build on each other and they make more patterns. Oh, this is just, this is like 80-pound cardstock. This is just cheap office paper cardstock. This isn't fancy paper this time. And it's a cheap pen too. This is a 50-cent pen. So I'm drawing 30 doodles with a 50-cent pen on office paper. How's that? You can't get much more economical. Now from the center, I'm going to make a little line going out into the petals, but not all the way across. This gives you that little crease in your flower where the petal meets the center. And I'm going to make my centers almost all the way dark. I'm going to leave a little circle of white. And if I end up coloring it all in, I can just take my white pen and put a circle back in. Another thing you can do, you can color in those little tiny spaces around the leaf. These actually will make a secondary pattern. See how, because it joins your two squares together. when you fill in a space around things, it makes an additional pattern. So this little shape right here from the two side-by-side squares makes an additional pattern. And maybe I can, the nice thing about it is you can reshape your leaves a little bit with that shading in the background or that coloring in. Make it any color you want it to be. If you want to use colored pens, go for it. Like I said, I really like doing my actual doodles with the black pen, and then I use them like coloring sheets and I will color things in. There we go. Yeah, I did get that answered. All right. So, fun things. I mean, my gosh, we have already done 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, we're finishing up number 26. Whoa. 26 patterns. Now, this one really looks like a tile. That's another place to find really cool patterns, is look at, just go on to Google and do a search for tile patterns, and you will find amazing designs that you can use to create your own doodle patterns with. So there. I know I took a little bit more time there, but hey, that's because I wanted to. And I hope that you guys don't mind that I'm taking you along on my little journey. Oh, well, yes, there's 26 patterns have been completed so far. I am going to do another one right here. And I think, let's see. I think this one is going to be diagonal pattern again. Not a grid, it's a stripe. And maybe make that one a little narrower. You can have wide stripes or narrow stripes. I'm going to go and do my stripe lines here. So I'm going on a diagonal. As my line becomes a straight line all the way across, I'm going to change back to a diagonal. So see how this is going across? I'm going across. It's now a complete straight line all the way across. Diagonal line. Hasn't made it. Well, that one's going all the way across completely. We're making woven stripes is what we're doing. So I'm going to go make stripe line, go diagonal. So I'm just turning. I can stop this at any point. I can continue going all the way across, or I could stop when my line is hitting both sides. I know this is a little bit advanced, but you guys have done 26 patterns already. You can do this. We're just doing it with straight lines. So I'm doing a diagonal line and then a straight line. Oh, look at that. This one went the opposite direction. It's okay. We're just putting a pattern in. It's like folding gum wrappers. Yeah, I love the tile patterns. I love these optical illusion type patterns also. So look at that. All right, I think this one's going to start at this corner. We're going to go straight line, straight line, straight line. And then I'm going to do diagonal going the other direction. Because we can. Maybe I'm going to stop at that point, and then I'll come back and do this one, straight lines. These lines are more spaced apart, aren't they? So look at that. Now this time I'm going to start on this corner. You can start in any corner. Make your pattern any way you want it to be. You'll find that you have ways of working across a page that are easier for your hand, working right to left or working left to right. And a lot of times that doesn't even have anything to do with if you are a right-handed or left-handed person. Sometimes we see things and it's easier one direction than another direction. So now I'm looking at that going, okay, this is going to get a diagonal line going this way. And then it's going to get a diagonal line going the opposite way. See? You can do it diagonals, whatever direction you want to go. You can do straight lines for the entire thing. And it makes a very complex looking pattern. It didn't really take any thinking. And I will tell you that talking while you're doing this is a whole lot harder than just doing it. I'm just making some of those lines a little bit darker. See, look at that. Just go in. You can make some of your lines even darker. But if I start doing that, I could be trapped in this for quite a while. So I am going to not go crazy and start shadowing in. But you could. You could do just straight lines on a page. See, Draw Tangles with Dawn has some amazing patterns. If you want to learn named patterns, she is an awesome channel to check out. I have learned so much doing patterns watching her. Yes, it's kind of like the Delft blue type blue tiles, the cream and blue for that little flower pattern. All right, so now I want, let's see, ooh, we're going to do something similar. I'll tip my line the other way, but we're going to do it with arches. So we're going to do an arch going this way and an arch going that way. Can you tell what I'm going to do? Can you tell yet? What I'm going to do is I am going to make a fun little kind of kitchen pattern. And you can do this. It's not a hard pattern. This is beginner. Look at that. We're making citrus wedges. You don't have to make everything come out the same size. That's the cool thing here. You know, when you're doing citrus wedges can be all sorts of different shapes of sections. Yep. citrus slices. I love this type, but this can also be half of a wheel flower. Half, you can make this into whatever you want it to be. Let's see. I think I'm just going to make that a solid line, and I am going to go in, and these little triangles, these little arched triangles, I'm going to color those in. Those arch triangles in the spaces between, because what that does, look at that. Now I've got orange peel or lime peel or lemon peel for that thickness going around the outside of that arch. This would be a fun pattern to do for a housewarming. Wouldn't that be a fun card to attach to, or a bridal shower where they're getting all their kitchen-y things? Or the invitation to a barbecue when we get to start doing those kinds of things again. See? Now you can go in and do the extra detail inside these. And that's just basically making little rice shapes and stack them up. You can make them as close to each other or as far apart as you want. Maybe you're just seeing some of the highlights. See? It doesn't take a lot to sort of sell the idea that those are slices of juicy fruit. And if you were doing this in color, or say you put watercolor down on the paper, let it dry, and you used pretty oranges and lemon yellows, and then drew fruit right over the top of the random blobs. Oh yeah. Doesn't take much to sell the idea. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that. That was a little bit too empty. Just like that. A few little wedges. So there. And if you end up with a piece of thin peel, you can always go back and take the white pen and give you back a little bit of that. Yep, look for Deliberately Creative on Facebook. I am posting my art on my page. I am posting my art on Instagram. These doodles. I also have I'm going to be taking a lot of these and making them into 1-minute real-time doodles, one doodle at a time, and that will be on my Tangi, which is a short form, kind of like TikTok, but it's short form for artwork and crafts and cooking and things like that. All right, we need 2 more patterns, and I think we have not done enough swirls yet. So I am going to take and make a large swirl. Sometimes your pen wants to draw at a certain angle. So just figure that out. Oh, let's see how far we are. Ooh, look how much ink is left. So this was half full. Now it's down to about, yeah. We're running through the ink, aren't we? Now I'm going to do a swirl going the other direction. But your pen will want to draw in certain angles more than others. This pen actually likes to draw a lot better straight over the top. Did you see what I did there? I started my swirl all the way to the middle, and without picking up my pen, I just turned around and came back. And I automatically get those lovely thick and thin type shapes. Maybe one right here. I find I don't like it as much when I get too small. So like going off of here and making another one and then another one. You get to a point where your swirls can become too small. But I like this, and I'm going to put a few of those little teardrop type shapes. Ooh. Kind of like the shapes that we just did inside of our orange wedges. And you'll find that that is one of the most amazing type of shapes to fill in spaces. So see? Made a little flower. Made some leaves. You can follow a shape. You can make big ones and little ones. All right, look at that. Wow. It's looking more and more complex, isn't it? And remember, we're doing it just one shape or line at a time. So then, these are fun to put a line and a dot. Then it could be leaves or it could be flowers. It's all up to the way your mind sees it. I am so excited that you guys hung out with me this whole time. We have one more to do. Let's see, what are we going to do for that very last one? I think we're going to do, so these shapes right here, or these shapes right here, we're going to take and use those shapes, and we're going to make a total flower fill. So one flower, lots of shapes. So it's going to be that rounded shape here. We're going to do a simple flower. Now we're going to be doing a lot of flower doodles next week on Monday. So make sure that you've clicked that subscribe button and the notification bell. But right now I'm going to do big petals, same size or same shape, same number of petals. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same shape again. Big petals. They're just growing. We're keeping the same number of petals. And they can get a little bit misshapen, and that's okay. Big petal. Big petals. So you see what I'm doing? I'm going from the top of the middle to the top of the middle of the next one. And what have we done? We've drawn a camellia flower. And then go back in and do our quick little fold lines. And I want to go ahead and put an outline on these petals. Just an outline. Nothing hard. See, still beginner, beginner, beginner. But you're getting this beautiful multi-petaled flower. Then we can go back in and do another. I'm going to go in and outline each of these petals, or inner line. Just working my way back down to the center. I hope that you guys have been enjoying all of these patterns, that you will come back, check out the video when you want to just have some fun, peaceful time. Let's go and zoom out. See the whole desk. Ooh, look at that. Look how cool that is. We've got 30 patterns. We, took our time doing it. Yep, it took us about 2 hours. But figure, 30 patterns, 2 hours, 4 minutes a pattern? No. My brain just went dead on how to do my numbers. Oh gosh, I'm not in a number place in my brain right now. I'm in a draw pattern place. Ooh, I'm looking at this going, you know what? I want another one right there. Because I wanted it. You can do that. Look at your patterns later. See what you think. And remember that doing this type of artwork is for you. And you can use this to build amazing things that will totally rock your world, knock your socks off. I'm looking to the side going, oh. All right, so next time I will have a few samples of some things I've done with my doodles in a bigger way, but they're still basic, fun, easy, and I hope that you are going to try these. Make sure that you have clicked the subscribe button, the like button if you like this video, and share with your friends. If you have a doodling group or something that allows you to post links, share my link. That helps my channel out. That helps other people learn how to do fun and easy things. Remember to go out and do something creative. Take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. And I hope to see you back here again really soon. Bye.